Time now for the Left of Lansing Monday Musing for March 17th of 2025. As I and many other progressives and Democratic voters have been saying since the election, the Democratic Party is in desperate need of new leadership in Washington, D.C. With Trump 2.0 trampling over the United States Constitution with the help of corporate authoritarians like President Musk, we are watching federal workers like those who ensure we're drinking clean water and things like that lose their jobs at the whims of Musk and his fellow tech bros. Universities get stripped of federal funding for silly things like curing diseases and feeding people around the world because that makes Musk feel all icky. The history of marginalized Americans get erased at the whims of Musk. Students disappearing for using their First Amendment rights at the whims of Musk and Benjamin Netanyahu. Years of environmental protections disappearing immediately to appease corporate donors. Agencies like the IRS and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau getting gutted to also appease corporate donors. Plans by President Musk to eradicate Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and prices continually going up while the regime cuts a guaranteed $15 wage for federal workers. People are angry and afraid, yet many of the old leaders inside the National Democratic Party aren't getting it, and why should they since they've been so out of touch with reality for such a long time anyway? One could argue it was because of President Lyndon Johnson's strong arming of Congress that we got some of the most progressive legislation passed over the past 60 years, including civil rights, Medicare, Medicaid, the Voting Rights Act, and more. Since then, though, Democrats became the party that got scared of its own shadow, got weak, and lost its will to fight. I've always heard how Democrats must take half the loaf rather than the whole thing, but that never really seems to be the rule when it comes to MAGA Republicans being in power. In just 2 months, Musk and Trump are defunding public education and going after Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Yet Democratic leaders can't just figure out how to line up to fight back. They can't even agree on the choice of weapon while Musk and Trump and MAGA Republicans steamroll their agenda across America and beyond. Last week, House Democrats stuck together as a minority against passing a short-term budget scheme to bail out dear leader Trump and MAGA Republicans for the next 6 months, but the MAGA House majority got it to the Senate, which is where Democrats really did have a chance to use the only power they had, preventing a 60-vote majority to pass it. Sadly, and yet predictably, a handful of Senate Democrats, along with New York Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, voted with every Republican to pass the bill because they were afraid Americans would blame them for shutting down the government, even though one of the largest federal worker unions backed Democrats in blocking the bill. I mean, never mind that passing such a bill would be, as Chief Brody says in the movie Jaws, ringing the dinner bell as Elon and others in dear leader's regime would go on hurting hard-working Americans for the next 6 months. Now, a recent NBC poll showed that just 27% of voters approved of the Democratic Party right now, and maybe this is why.
And we will win! We will win! We will win! We will win! We will win!
Yeah, Chucky Schumer just isn't made for this time. Look, I've had my grievances with Michigan's Democratic Junior U.S. Senator Alyssa Slotkin, as many of you know, but give credit where credit is due because even she voted against passing such a wicked bill because she understood voting for that bill exhibited weakness. Meanwhile, Michigan's other Democratic senator, the outgoing Gary Peters, voted for appeasement. Glad he's leaving, and I hope Michigan Democrats are learning an important lesson that his seat must be filled by a strong progressive populace willing to fight for the working class and fight against Trump. I mean, the reason why Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer isn't pulling in crowds anymore while Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders pulls in 10,000 people to watch him in Warren recently was because Bernie's letting people know he hears them. The reason New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is gaining strength is because she's letting people know she hears them. While these out-of-touch Democratic leaders don't know what a podcast is, other progressives out there understand how corporate authoritarianism isn't just a threat, it's happening right before our very eyes. And that's why there's such a need for a Tea Party-like uprising within the Democratic Party so it can get back to its roots of fighting for the working class while taking the battle to MAGA Republicans. Fighting for the people while fighting against the fascist MAGA Republicanism and proposing bold policies that benefit the people, that's what the people want. Leaving this question, why isn't it what the Democratic Party leadership wants? leftoflansing@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. Subscribe to the podcast and also subscribe to Left of Lansing on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, the Gram, and Facebook. Take the battle to them.